Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Hey, Margaret, welcome to Life in Wilkes. You know, if I said your entire name, we'd be here for a while. Let me try it. Margaret Martine Ferguson. See? Okay. Margaret Ferguson Carter Martini, like
very
the drink.
Good. You win the prize.
Oh my goodness! Is that on your card?
I signed artwork Margaret Ferguson Carter.
Right.
I never put a husband's name on an artwork.
Oh.
But I do Margaret Carter Martini.
Right.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, that's great. Good to see you, friend.
Good to see you too.
So let's start off by telling everyone about what you do. Not everything, because it's such a long list, but the thing that you're doing now, carrying on the family tradition.
Well, I am a retired art educator, and I taught everything and everybody from middle school up through university. And I am now director and owner of Whippoorwill Academy and Village, along with my husband, Dick Martine. He has a shorter name.
Right.
And we do tours there. We do all sorts of different kinds of events. We are both retired educators and really want to continue with the celebration of the talents of our area and also encouraging young people to explore their talents as well. And I'm an artist.
Right.
So I do a lot of shows, and I'm a painter and a mosaic artist.
So it's, but you came by it honestly too, right? So that's
Right.
the story, a little bit of that, working that in, because I really like that part, because that's how I first learned about the property that you manage now and that you own, and that was from your mother.
My mom was dynamic, as I guess is the best way to say it. I don't know how she did all that she did, and my sister and I were underfoot all the time as little kids, and I'm sure we were challenges for her when we were teenagers, but she managed to get so much stuff done. But she was an artist, and she was also an art educator, and we often taught at rival schools, which I loved. And she was the founder of Art in the Park in Blowing Rock. She was very involved with, you probably name an organization, my mother belonged to it or helped it financially. You know, she was just that kind of person. And I thought that I was going to retire from teaching and assist my mother with Whippoorwill, but she discovered she had cancer and died within a month of finding that out. So I ended up not having a clue what all was involved with running this nonprofit, but I have learned.
Right.
And I've met some amazing people.
Did that, I know that is just such a tragic thing to happen, because I remember when I got the news, I'm like, I had no idea she was even sick. And that, I was in Charlotte at the time, and it was just a sad moment. But having stepped into that position because of it happening this way, did it give you another layer of awareness and appreciation of your mother and how she not only how she provided this service, but how she gave, because it was so big?
I've never met a person who did not love my mother. And I know you'd think everybody has enemies, and if Mom did, we didn't know about it. Right. But she loved children, she loved teaching, she loved art, she loved music, she loved theater, she loved the whole 9 yards. And before she died, while she was in the hospital in Winston-Salem, I'd give her ideas that I had about the village, and she would say, "Go for it, do it. That's a great idea, do it." And I remember one man saying, "Your mother didn't do it this way." I said, "Don't you think I know what my mother wanted me to do? I knew my mother way better than you do."
Right.
So Mom was very encouraging and very supportive of any ideas that I had, and that made it easier to go forth.
Sure. And it's easier also for you not to have to feel like you're filling her shoes, but you're just carrying on.
We're continuing,
Right.
and expanding, because we didn't have the poetry competition. We have the James Larkin Pearson Poetry Competition every April, which is National Poetry Month,
Right.
for middle and high school students from Wilkes and Caldwell counties. And we've been so fortunate having North Carolina's 7th Poet Laureate, Joseph Bethanti, as our judge for the last several years. He is awesome. He's being inducted to the North Carolina Writers Hall of Fame this fall. And I did tell him, I said, Joseph, if you're tired of judging these poetry competitions, please let me know. It won't hurt my feelings. You'll just have to tell me who can replace you,
Right.
who's as good as you are. And he said, don't you dare take this job away from me. I love judging the student poetry. So that's something that we added that was not done at all. And Whippoorwill Academy was the school where North Carolina's 2nd Poet Laureate and Wilkes native James Larkin Pearson attended. So
that's where you went to school?
Yep, he went to school there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So
when you think about the responsibility that you have now with Whippoorwill Academy and the students, but it's not just from an educational standpoint, it's this historic educational standpoint. And that's a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us why that's so important now.
Well, Mom combined her love of history with art, and she did, I'm going to say maybe 10 to 12 videos about North Carolina stories. Some of them were legends, some of them were true stories, and we do show some of those videos at the Village. And it's really wonderful to be able to see how you can put history into something visual as well, that it doesn't have to be a film. It can be something that's hand painted, which is what my mother did. So that's been fun to do that, to have those. And then other people have come. We've had a couple of people who are filmmakers who've done their own versions of parts of the story of Tom Dooley,
right.
and shown it at the Village as well. And this year, something really cool that we're doing that we haven't done before, Blue Moon Production Company with Karen and David Reynolds with the Tom Dooley story,
right.
are going to be doing the courtroom scene at Whippoorwill on September the 20th at our
nice.
Tom Dooley and Appalachian Culture event. So I'm excited about that. So whoever is attending will be part of the courtroom.
Oh, that's exciting.
To see what's taking place.
You typically have good attendance for your special events, don't you?
We do. We do. You know, the thing is that when you get there, you may think there's not a whole lot of people here, but the Village eats up people. I mean, there's so many people in the buildings and everywhere, and we now have a petting zoo. A lovely young woman named Xandra Laws is the young farmer who's has some livestock there at the Village and allows kids to pet and feed the goats and the sheep and everything.
Nice.
So we want to include agriculture as well, because that's such an important part of our area.
When you think about the future, we were together last fall, and we were there during your Daniel Boone days, because, as I understand, every other year, one year you do Daniel Boone, the next year it's Tom Dooley, and you keep rotating that. But I met a painter who I think is on your board of directors, and I was fascinated because he was using this ancient technique even for making the paints, and from berries and, twigs and all sorts of things.
And that young man is a former student of mine that I taught 40 plus years ago, who's on Tim Larson. He's amazing. And that's one of the cool things, too, about being a former teacher. So many of my former students have come back to either volunteer as a docent, or they're participating.
Right.
At our groundbreaking ceremony, Tim Hall in Buffalo Country performed there, and Tim was one of my students back 40-some years ago, and is an awesome young man. So we've been very fortunate by having people. You think as a teacher everybody hates their teachers, but I'm so glad that not everybody hated me as their teacher and are willing to come back and get involved. So that's been, and also my mother's former students come and are involved.
So you're seeing multiple generations of students from your family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Were you a tough teacher?
Yes.
Really?
It wasn't crayons and filling in the blanks and fear of going out of the lines. I went further than that. And I remember one student said, I thought I was taking a crip course. I wanted an easy course, but I learned so much. And he became an artist.
Oh, that's great. You know the artist that did the painting behind me?
Oh, yeah. Sure do.
Charlie Fry. One day we were talking, and it was last fall, and we were working on outlining what we were going to do in production. And he said, what do you got coming up? And I told him, and he says, she was my teacher. You remember Charlie?
Charlie, I wasn't technically his teacher. I was teaching in the same school as Charlie.
Okay.
And every time Charlie had a break, he came down to see what my students were doing and asked so many questions. How'd they do this? What do you do? And so I guess I was Charlie's teacher, but
certainly you tutored him for sure.
He didn't get a report card, but but he and I were buddies. I love Charlie. Yeah. He wanted to know things, and I remember when he first started printmaking, and they were dirty on the edges. I said, Charlie, you can't have a print like this. He said, what did I do wrong? I said, it's dirty. You got to stay clean. And went, oh, okay. So the next time his print clean, perfect, sharp, great. Yeah, he listened. Yeah. He a great guy.
And he's gone on to do really well.
Yeah, he has.
So that's a good thing. So we've got Whippoorwill Academy, and we'll just continue to learn about that. But let's talk about this exciting trip you just got back from. When I called you, we were talking, you were so excited. And I'd followed you on social media as you were in Europe doing your mosaic journey. Let's talk about that for a moment. This isn't the first time you've done this, is it?
I've been doing mosaics for several years. And even though I'm a painter, what ends up translating is that you're painting with glass. And the colors that you put next to each other, Monet, if he were here, would tell you that's exactly what he did with his water lily paintings. What you put next to each other makes such a big difference. But the first time I went to Italy and saw St. Mark's Cathedral, oh my gosh. And then the mosaics in St. Peter's Cathedral, you would swear are actually paintings, but they're not. They're mosaics. Wow. But I'm just blown away with that. And I love puzzles anyway. And so, when you're doing a jigsaw puzzle, if it doesn't fit, you have to go through a million pieces. Well, with mosaic, you can cut it to fit, which is what you always want to do with a jigsaw puzzle. Exactly. Let me cut that tip off, and I can work it in there.
Right. You can't do that, but this you can. But then you're doing the design as well, right?
Well, I went online, and I wanted to look at what schools were offered, and I wanted to go to Italy specifically because of the rich history they have with mosaic. And I found one school that I really liked that was in Venice, and I thought perfect, and the instructor was very direct, very honest, painfully honest sometimes, which, hey, as an instructor, I understand that.
Sure.
I don't want somebody to tell me, oh, this is perfect, when it's not.
Right.
Tell me what I'm doing wrong and how I can improve it. So I was in that class with two other women. One was from Australia and the other one's from England. And he was amazing. He was so good. So it was all day long. I had a great place to stay right next to the canal. You could watch the gondolas going by, but I wasn't there long enough in my Airbnb to see that happen because I was in the studio, but
you were still in the environment, though.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, it was great.
When you talk about the cathedrals, I remember traveling in Europe and how the vastness of it all was just so overwhelming, and as you said, to set in and look up there, way up there, it looks like a painting, but it's not. It's stained glass or it's mosaics, and the idea of what it takes to maintain that work is remarkable. I know a master craftsman that does the leaded stained glass. He's actually here in North Carolina now, Michael Reevely, and he was telling me about some of those cathedrals. Literally, they have a crew that when they start, by the time they make their way all the way around, it's time to start again on the repair and just the maintenance work.
Yeah.
So that's remarkable.
Well, my instructor asked if I'd been to Torcello on an island. I said, no, I had not. He said, you must go. And the mosaic in there wasn't like spectacular like St. Mark's, but it had an age to it that was earlier than what was done at St. Mark's, and you got a sense of it. It was also spectacular in its own way, and it's being restored right now. But that was, you can just say for Italy, everywhere you turn there's art, and whether it's painting or mosaic, but I really love the mosaic.
Let me ask you, when you travel abroad, you go to Europe, and especially for artistic reasons or food, I think.
Food's a good reason too.
That's an excellent reason. But after you come home, do you notice more of the influence of the other parts of the world here than you did before?
What I notice when first of all, you see how alike we are with other people.
Right.
You know that human nature is pretty much the same, and how we react to things. For me, after I've gone on a trip like that, I have to put it visually into something, almost like a diary, an art diary, I guess you could say. And in this case, I did a mosaic diary. But I think that you're more tuned in to what other people are doing, and I've been contacted by some people who want to get together that are also mosaic artists. And I've taught several mosaic classes, and I'll do so again because a lot of people have been asking me about that. But I always tell them, if you do this art form, you will bleed. Just telling you offhand, you will bleed.
Oh,
you know, there's no way to do this and not bleed. If you have a way of doing it, then you're much more careful than I am. But the glass does pose a little bit of a situation there with getting cut. So I just keep Band-Aids on hand.
Sure. So with this artwork, you literally become part of it, right?
Well, and yes.
So talk about this fellow here. So this is one of your projects that you shared with me earlier. Yep. Your work projects, there's something you do and you don't do. So the thing you don't do is sell it, right?
Well, on this one, because it was from that class, and when you look at something that small, you think, oh, that was nothing. Right. No, that was 5 hours a day, every day of the week.
So has he got a name?
Not yet. I'm still debating on what to call him. But I noticed with this particular piece that you have to be at a certain distance to really appreciate the piece, because if it's up close, it doesn't work. You have to back off from it to see it. But one thing that the Mosaic Workshop guy had that I don't have here, he had a bazillion different values of skin tones and things like that. So I've been looking to see what I can find here in the United States. I was hoping to fill up my suitcase with tiles and bring them back. Right. So I went to Murano, which I thought, I bet they have just great shops there full of tiles. No, they did not. So I'd taken clothes to throw away, so I'd have room in my suitcase for tiles. But anyway, I have found a place here in the United States that I can find a wider range of tile tones to use. But I'd never used a hammer before. I'd always used the snips. The snips, right. Right. And so when he said, "Have you used hammer before?" I said, "No." Are you right-handed, left-handed? Right-handed. Good. But I'm still getting a log to put the sharp piece, the hardy into, so I can start cutting like I did when I was in Venice.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. So is this the first time you've gone for a mosaic class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually I've gone for fun, or I've taken students on tours, done things like that, or I've done a family trip. But this time was totally selfishly for me to study under a master mosaicist.
When you go for that reason, and I love that because you come back with a personal experience. The agenda is to do exactly, as you said, to absorb that experience. To me, it's like going to a great restaurant. I mean, when I go, I'm a little spoiled because I want to meet the chef, and I'm working on stories, so they're usually obliging, and it's so different when you get to know someone and you get to know that culture a little bit. It means more. So you did this while you were there. This you did by being inspired on the trip, right?
Yes.
So tell us what this is.
Well, this is a view, and people may not realize, but there are like 400 bridges in Venice. Right. And so someone said, "Is that the Rialto?" I said, "No, it's just one of the 400 bridges." I have no idea which bridge I was standing on, but it's standing on the bridge looking down, and you're seeing the gondolas that are coming through. But it's just so beautiful. I mean, every place you turn, the only way you could take a bad photograph is if your finger's in front of the lens. Right. I mean, it's just beautiful everywhere. But that was the one that I decided to do to say this was my trip. This was my self-indulgence for a class that I wanted to take.
Well, it's beautiful. I like that a lot. That's great. So this here, What is that? What is that thing?
That is the gondola coming up underneath the bridge with the seats if you're looking straight down. And let me tell you, the best friend that I have when I'm doing a mosaic is a flathead screwdriver. Because I can pop out my tiles as I don't like this, I don't like that, and pop them out. And so I've redone several sections of this till it felt right. And with paint, you can paint over it, unless you've painted too fat, and you'll see the fat paint over whatever you've put across.
Sure.
But with mosaic, luckily, you can take a flathead screwdriver and work it out.
And you can do that.
Yeah.
Didn't you a few years ago? It seems like I saw something online. You were doing were they tabletops? I almost called you, and I was on another project because that looks really nice. I might want to get one of those. But this is for the wall.
Right. And I have outdoor pieces as well. I've done, during COVID, I thought, I am going to make this time count for something wonderful. And I can't go anywhere. So when I look out, I want to see the Garden of Eden. So
nice.
I did several large outdoor pieces of flowers, butterflies. I've sold some of the pieces, like I did one of a rooster, and it's already in private collection. But I started doing that, and then yes, I did the Ferguson Family Pavilion in Ferguson. I did our family's from Scotland, so I did the thistles, the Scottish thistles, and I did Dulcius exasperus, which is sweeter after difficulties, which I don't believe, but that's our family motto, the Ferguson family motto.
Well, it could be. It could be sweeter.
Yeah, we could be sweeter. But the other strange
You're such
thing.
a hard teacher.
The other thing that I did, I started last year. I've been attending the church that my family has been going to for over 200 years, and it's right off of Highway 268. And one of the deacons came to me and said, Margaret, we're going to have to take down the old tree in front of the church. If it falls on the church, it's going to destroy the church. And I went, what? And they said, we thought you'd be upset about it. I said, yes, I'm upset. And I said, did you think I was going to do flips, screaming and yelling, going down the aisle in church? And he said, yeah, something like that. And I said, well, could you leave 8 feet of it standing? Because if you will, I will commission a sculptor to carve out a cross, and then I will mosaic the cross. So that's what we did. And then I've got it just about finished with the mosaic, except that winter came. And I knew the grout would crack if I had, with the water in the grout. So, and then I got vertigo once it got warm again. So I've been waiting for everything to be right to finish it. But what was so cool, people would come up. I was going to Goodwill and everywhere buying plates and breaking plates to use instead of tiles. And somebody said, that's like the pieces of our lives. We're broken and we're being put back together again. And I was glad to see somebody had read that into it. But anyway, I've had people drive up and hand me plates that I can break to add to it, because it takes more. Because, there's a little ridge on the bottom of plates. You can't use that. You can only use the flat part. So anyway, it took a lot of plates, and I've got more plates to go. But that's been an interesting experience, and people have come there to meditate, which I hadn't expected that as well.
As you're at the place that you're doing this mosaic?
Yeah, when I'm not there, people have gone by and seen people bowing their heads and around the cross, which, I just viewed it as making a wonderful cross in front of our church from a tree that we played hide and seek and tag around growing up. And it was so big. I mean, you could probably have maybe 4 or 5 men holding hands around it, and it would have gone around the base, about the trunk of that tree. So
this happened for a couple of reasons. One, you're an artist. 2, this is part of your family heritage, right?
Yes.
And it meant something. It sounds like it meant something important to you.
Oh, yeah,
Not just special, but important.
I remember the old men back in the 1950s standing out there smoking their cigarettes before they went into church, and things like that. So, I mean, the church has been there a long time, and so is this tree. So I wanted to do something to save a part of the tree, and eventually it will rot and die and fall over. And somebody said, what about that then? I said, well, I won't be here.
Right. That's right.
Somebody else can figure out what to
take a good picture. Take a good picture.
Not everything is meant to last forever, but hopefully it'll last through my lifetime. And I hope to have the longevity of the Fergusons, which is getting close to 102. So I'm hoping that'll be my story.
Wow. Can you imagine? Where's Margaret? Well, she's up at the Highland Games playing the bagpipe. She's 104 this year.
She went on another trip to Europe. There's another class she went wanted to take.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Where's Margaret? Well, she's 112. She died. She was chasing an Italian guy around and to get his wine, and she fell over a rooster or something. What a way to go, Margaret. That would be great.
That would be a great way to go.
And I want to tell that story. That's because I could live a long time, too.
Yeah, like, hey, remember when I said that Margaret would die from being chasing an Italian guy?
Oh, my goodness. What fun. You know, none of this conversation could happen. I mean, we could have conversation, but if you think about the depth of the things that we're talking about, and the fact that we're doing this in Wilkes County, and the fact that you have enjoyed traveling the world, you've enjoyed being an educator. Now you're part of preserving history and presenting it to young people to learn from. You're talking about, you know, an old church that's in the area, and you're doing your part to be part of preserving that because it meant so much to your family. The mere pieces of our conversation, it tells a story as well. That there's that much depth to talk about, and that it's all represented in this area. That's pretty special.
You know, Carl, one thing I think people have wrong about our area, that we're all redneck hillbillies who scratch with the chickens in the dirt or something. I mean, we appreciate our agriculture. We appreciate our area that we live in. I don't take it for granted. I wake up every day with the view that my ancestors had in the 1700s, and I feel so privileged to have that view. But I think one of my friends years ago, when he came to this area, had gone to a little church gathering, and during the picnic, he overheard people talking about the art exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, and he heard all these discussions and he thought, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and these people have this experience. And I think that it's too bad that people automatically think, because we have a Southern accent, which I'm very proud of my Southern accent.
I am too. That's good.
That we have to be loco ignorant people. And I don't think that I don't know if that's from media that they've gotten that, from the Beverly Hillbillies or whatever, I don't know. But I think that if people really took time to get to know the people in this area, they'll see that they're far more sophisticated and intelligent. And I'm talking about even people who don't have a higher education are smart as all get out.
You know, I was working on a story on the Outer Banks several years ago, and I literally hired a linguist to help me with understanding what this group of fishermen were using. I'm like, well, what are they saying? And he said, well, first of all, they're speaking correct, and that's an ancient form of talking, you know, for the English, and then you've got the Scottish. So when we looked at, so he gave me a great education on that standpoint. I was like, oh, so this is how they originally sounded. So it was a piece of archaeology right there, living, breathing part. So I thought that was incredible. And then people in the mountains of North Carolina also, and all the way over to Maggie Valley. And so you'd have some of that same type of presentation of voice. And he said it was the same thing. He says, these aren't a bunch of ignorant people. Some of them may not have great education, but they're talking in a brogue. They're talking with an accent that's inherently theirs. And he said, yours too. You've just lost it. They haven't. And I thought that was interesting.
My mother used words like yonder.
Sure.
Let me think of what else she used. Fetch.
Fetch.
She used words like that nobody else used. And I thought that was, it's over yonder.
Yep.
Go fetch this. You know, it's just like, you know, nobody uses those words.
It's because they've been forgotten.
Yeah.
Right? But so you went over yonder to Italy.
I went over yonder, and I had a real good time.
A real good time. That's right. I think there's something that the mountain folk also have, and that's the secrets. They know that waking up in the morning and hearing either the rooster crows or the coyotes at night, or just being able to go out and see the open sky and actually, like, you can see and count the stars. We don't have that experience in our larger cities. Not always because of proximity of where they are, but more pollution. And you just
that
don't
night
have
pollution.
That's right. You just don't have that clear sky, and that's a special thing.
You know, this area has been designated as one of the best places in the United States to view the heavens, which I think is bragging rights.
Right.
And I remember my dad would disappear, and it would be nighttime, and we would go out, and he would be in the yard in a chair, just sitting there looking up at the sky and listening to all the insect sounds and the birds.
Sure.
And to him, that was just perfect peace.
You feel the same way? Mm-hmm. You live out there too now.
Yeah, we do. We were trying to identify every bird sound that we hear. We got that on our app that we can try and figure out what is that bird.
I don't know. I find as I get older, I enjoy that more. But I've always enjoyed the sounds of nature. But I think as the years pass, you're just willing to sit down and listen more. Is that it, you think?
I think something that too. I think our children are nature deprived. I think they're so inside with video games and dealing with their cell phones, they're not experiencing nature, which I think is so sad. I think the Boy Scouts help alleviate some of that and introduce youngsters to the great outdoors. And there are some parents who do that also. But I think that's something that's missing in our society today is giving children the opportunity to experience nature.
Yeah, nature's good medicine, right?
And the Yadkin River is a great place to go tubing, and you can see otters going through the water and just some huge, gigantic birds flying overhead. So
it really is idyllic when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have to think about it too long before we can just go see it.
Yeah.
Because it's all right there. Margaret, as usual, you've talked beyond the limits. No, you haven't. You've talked right within the limits.
What a surprise.
Oh, this has been great. I've loved catching up with you. We'll do this again this fall, but I'm so glad you had a wonderful experience in Italy, and you brought the influence with you.
I did.
You're going to have to come up with a name for this guy.
I am. I'm going to have to think about it.
Yeah, got next time we're together, I'm going to say, what'd you call that Italian guy?
Because I do like to name things. This one's called View from the Bridge.
View from the Bridge? That's very practical.
But
got that one.
He isn't named yet, but he'll get a name.
Yeah, that's great. Margaret, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
It's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.